你不要命了呀！
不要话我都教过他那的，你是师叔还是我是师叔？你懂还是我？
强大的魔气，
那个吗？失恋是不是失恋？快说！
他在索要对象的妖族，
担心我们逃得掉。
你会这么好心？
炼狱里呀，缓解灼烧之苦。
拜拜！我完了，这下怎么上礼？
你打菜，你把我打菜，就是夜软啊，
使点劲儿。
对了，你还去拍人？
你推荐责任？
哎，说个大西瓜鸡巴。
两力，
太乙仙掌正摇，
结界，
都看淡，转而非要当神。
短短几句便振聋发，我们所有人的学习。飞爷字字珠玑，催人上量啊！
还以为没那么好，
看便知你时常熬夜。
我黑眼圈天生的，
想有心重修真心，
可以重修。
远大就收了你这个徒弟。
为啥？
修仙呢？
修仙包不掉啊！
从此我们断绝。干啥？踢馆呢？要动粗了！
你不是我。
清楚没得？
非动作快，而是一的。好厉害的寒气，
是猛的都真要崩啊！
降雨腥风，急急如。
不成数学。
你又何苦自断一臂？
重地，住手！放肆！啊！玉虚宫的仙长，尔等不得好事，尔等都。
没人！
不要！
掉。
出招吧！
小孩大多没面子，叫
你现在想
我变性了，
哎呀，这我不客气了。
又多呀！
抱歉，我以为要上组。
师弟多练几年再来晋级。
你再等一下。
得吃药。
掐你！
那我就喝汤。
让我来！刚对吗？刚才说。
看我怎么收拾他！
在这我没法给你用。
吐了他，全吃回来。
原来如此的命，
我前夫这点罪，要死！我要扭转命运。
打架流量学，
师伯，
爸爸，给我打一车！
说你
去！你没事吧？
知晓你和敖丙的身份。
哎，见不啊！
意欲何为？谁说我抓了你爹？而且我爹人才，什么？我还能猜到你来城城关，你就是这样报答之间有怨无。贵为玉虚，知道这到底是谁身背信弃？
久闻无也了解，若能
奉上灵珠和魔丸，
这苦难，以前年少才明白这是
命，但你们反复
愿意。
无量仙翁随时可身上的定海锁链。据神公告诉，此次无量仙翁本王，并从他们口中获不明真相的活口，放。眼看到躲藏起来，之后竟
我没什么好留恋的了。
并非如外界传言，这天元鼎炼成了。
你咋个对得起？
干嘛将他押解回宫？
被你们策反。
叛变！
跟大哥你现在为了保全自己，
卖了！
南海龙王。
你肉身不稳，别用力过度。我
后生可畏呀！
给宝，嗨！
太乱了，
拿下，小心点。
对不住，拿着！
惊不惊喜？
你们到底？原来你这是吗？有死你！呸！活该！防横害！为什么只暗号我行吗？太难了！帅飞，你不会暗号？太极天然无律令。
典范！哎呀，他！
像
弟，身材绝艳。你们真实身份
就要复杂，你杀什么场？你夹带私货！啊！
老匹夫
！3个时辰内也吸透全身经脉，难怪了。但你猪不本想好好栽培？
父王，你还也是他？
都冲我来，和我爹娘无。
杀了你们也大字鞭吧！
大非礼之死啊！你莫要分的蠢货！要是要足1半努力，骂名，一切都是为。
又烤好了，
我说了，你也尝尝。
谢谢。
一刻是一刻。
儿啊，你功力一回，
这传心咒至少3。
这儿呢，管我们，你自己。
哎呀，若本王没元鼎，就奈何不了你。
没有坚不可摧，难怪个尽孝的机会。老夫虽行事高足能人异士，下士绝不为难你。
变心吗？
不要管我们，你一定要活着。
合不了谋安，整死他！
我死都有点家，不让我死。最后了，要自己。没有，一直都让你们伤过，对不起。带我，你是有人。
哪吒的肉身，
照顾好娘。
不好，他们在戏上。上！
为什么都给了星？
那我们就……
糊弄人的把戏！
下老夫的手段！二人一次机会，若肯，那又如何？
祸乱人间的勾当，
一副强者才是唯一。
就他故意让我这扭转这结果。
我的脸，我的脸！
珍珠隐匿起来，你身份也有，我想试试。
装，敖丙。父王知道，以前父王让，父王只是想，毕竟是过往，与你去创。
请。
传教有行动，走。
牢房内还屏蔽了仙术。您容貌有变，
咒你睡10年。
谁把您
女主角，妖妇可会对你唯一。放心，玉虚宫尽
要的那2人到了。
好好。那怎么办？还有。
100倍！
真的？
学武虚。
行了，
没事，敷上药，一会儿好了再来。
试几次，总会碰对一次的。
Hey guys, today we break down the entire story of Ne Zha to 2025, start to finish, with every twist, trial, and thunderclap intact. We'll ride shotgun with Ne Zha and Ao Bing through a 7-day body share. Watch a smiling immortal drop, a city-sized cauldron, and follow the fallout that reshapes sea and sky. Before you head off, if you're enjoying the kind of content I make, please consider liking and subscribing. No pressure, but it truly helps me keep the action coming. Now, spoilers ahead, let's dive straight into the storm. We open on the hush after Cataclysm. The last movie ended in lightning. This one begins with memory. Ne Zha's spirit is still. A fist, Ao Bing's is still a vow, and Taiyi Zhenren half saint. Half snack stash burns the 7-colored sacred lotus to rebuild bodies from leftover miracle. It works mostly. Ne Zha stabilizes. Ao Bing doesn't. His new body is a paper lantern in a gust, bright, brave, and not built for the fight that's already prowling outside the door. Because the sea is listening, Ao Guang, Dragon King of the East Sea and Ao Bing's father, reads the ruins and believes his son is gone for good. Grief makes sharp decisions. He unlocks old prisons, calls in sea demons, and rallies the other dragon kings to tighten a ring around the shore. Above them all, in the elegant quiet rooms of the Chan sect, immortal Wu Liang smiles a smile that looks like charity and feels like paperwork. Pro tip: when a powerful elder beams at you and says everything is under control, check who's holding the fire extinguisher, chanting past the port town that lives between where fine and absolutely not fine gets. Hit first, it's spray and steel, dragon magic raking clouds like claws through silk. Ne Zha barrels into the fray as if speed could count as strategy. Ao Bing follows because that's what he does. But the strain of defending the city shears his fragile frame. The body Taiyi stitched together simply can't hold. Ao Bing's spirit hangs on, but his flesh gives way. A truce arrives in the strangest shape, a lease agreement with fate. Ao Bing's soul will share Ne Zha's body for 7 days. In that time, the two of them must complete 3 immortal trials under immortal Wu Yang's oversight. If they win, the prize is a single draft of Jade Nectar enough Sanctity 2. Rekindle the sacred lotus and rebuild Ao Bing a stable, permanent body. The dragons promise to stand down if the deal is honored. Everybody nods like this isn't the wildest carpool arrangement in myth. Yes, to drivers, 1 car. Yes, they will argue about the radio. Body sharing is exactly as messy as it sounds. Ne Zha's aura is all neon and knives. Ao Bing is calm geometry. To keep Ne Zha from flaring up during the trials, Taiyi gives him a hilariously oversized sleeping pellet, basically a chamomile meteor so Bing can steer. It becomes a running gag, and Ne Zha keeps half-waking at the worst moments like a snoring pop-up ad. If you take the wheel while I nap, I will you hot pot. Trial 1 plants them in a singing desert where wind writes cursive in the dunes. Their target is a clan of marmot spirits, not raiders, but builders with a whole civic plan underneath the sand. The Chan sect calls the exercise capture and correct, which is a very tidy way of saying put good people in a nice-looking cage. Bing handles it like an engineer. He reads the burrow network by sound and step, funnels the clan into a safe trap, and ties the knot without breaking bones. Ne Zha snaps awake in glittering spurts, adding a couple of flourishes nobody requested. The marmots end up annoyed but alive. Wu Yang praises restraint. The compliment lands a little off, like a pat on the head from someone who already bought the leash. There's a ceremony between trials. Yusu Palace glows like a lantern, and Wu Yang hosts a gathering with the serene energy of a man who just converted the apocalypse into calendar invites. He announces a refinement initiative, thousands of pills to elevate disciples for the looming conferred gods war. It sounds responsible. It sounds organized. It sounds like a lot of elixirs, and no one asks where the ingredients are coming from. If a manager says, "Don't worry about procurement," start worrying about procurement. And maybe about your job description. Trial 2 shifts into woodland shade, where the ground keeps secrets and the air smells like old bark and new vows. The target is Shen Zhengdao, yes. Shen Gongbao's father Eileen, quick master who has been teaching demon folk the methods of cultivation so they can live without tearing the world or each other apart. The Chan sect wants him brought in Bing, with Wu Yang's keen-mannered disciples Diru and Krana closes in. Ne Zha peeks through the sedative like a nosy cat at a window. Zhengdao measures the banner and the odds in one glance. He breaks his own arm to signal total surrender and tells his students to yield. It's awful, it's wise, it's what you do when the only way to save your class is to walk into a cage yourself. Then comes the spark that lights the siege. Shenxiao Baogongbao's younger brother staggers into Chenting Pass with an arrow in his side and fury in his mouth. He saw his father taken. He saw the Chan fletching. He tried to fight because sons try first and think later. He dies naming names in his brother's arms. Wu Yang arrives on cue, wraps half-truths around the grief, and gives the room a villain. With a crown, villain life hack, if you can't beat your enemies, narrate them. The ocean answers with teeth. 3 dragon kings descend in techniques that look like natural disasters auditioning for ballet. Our run sky-rending claw tears the sky open like wet silk. Chenton Pass buckles. Shen Gongbao fights like a man buying time with his own reputation, calling a sea yaksha to petrify Li Jing and Lady Yin Ne Zha's parents into stone statues that breathe but cannot be found. It's brutal, it's brilliant, it keeps them alive. Word of the massacre reaches Ne Zha in the middle of Trial 3, which was supposed to be a measured bout against Shai Ji Nanyang, the Stone Mother. The city's guardian beast crawls into the arena, rasts out what happened, and collapses. Ne Zha does not process, he accelerates. He crushed the trial because it's in the way and rockets for the EC Palace. Bing pleads for caution. Ne Zha's grief translates caution as later, before the confrontation. There's the ceremony that changes everything. God-making formalities amid incense and polished jade. Wu Liang anoints Ne Zha as an immortal and hands over the prized jade nectar in a small, holy vial. Tai Yi rushes it to the sacred lotus, flames sheath. The petals, Ao Bing's new body begins again, this time with more time, more care, more prayer built into every fiber. Meanwhile, very quietly, Wu Liang stitches a curse the piercing heart spell into Ne Zha and Ao Bing like invisible thread through muscle dot at the East Sea Palace. Everything hovers on the edge of truth. Ao Guan did not order a massacre. He expected the truce to hold. He's ready to talk. Ne Zha is not. Wu Liang arrives with disciples and a narrative polished like a sermon, and then the sky goes dark. The Qianyu and cauldron descends less a pot than a doctrine made of bronze. It seals over the palace like a lid over a scream. Heat surges, ocean water hisses into steam. The cauldron's belly glows with script that warps under temperature. Every prayer phrase buckling as if it can't stand its job. The fight is a maze of heat and leverage. Ne Zha rides the rim, spears striking sparks that fall like meteor showers. Ao Bing blankets surfaces with ice to carve friction into footholds. Tai Yi chants in rhythms that feel like lullabies trained for bar brawls. Wu Liang peels talismans off. Reality as if they were price tags, adding cages you can't see until you try to breathe. Reinforcements arrive Tai Yi, the rebodied Ao Bing, and then the gut punch, Li Jing and Lady Yin, unpetrified, alive, and moving like people who know. They came back for a reason. With them comes the correction that snaps the whole story into ugly focus. The dragons weren't masterminds, they were pawns. Wu Liang orchestrated the fall of Chenting Pass. He's been refining living beings into pills, Shengong Baos. Stand was a rescue, not a betrayal. Wu Liang doesn't debate, he tightens the curse. The piercing hard thread bites into Ne Zha and Ao Bing so deeply that motion itself becomes a wound. Then he sweeps everyone, parents, dragons, heroes into the cauldron. The word refinement turns literal, its chemistry as murder. Heat and pressure meant to reduce souls to ingredients. Inside, Wu Liang offers Ne Zha a false bargain. Swallow an oblivion pill and your parents live. It's a trap shaped like a choice. Lady Yin does the thing this franchise asks of mothers, the impossible one. She takes the pill out of her son's hand, throws it into the flames, and embraces him one last time. There's no big score here, just breath, heat, and loss. Ne Zha breaks, not the kind of break that ends a story. The kind that changes everything about how a story moves. He pulls against the curse until sinew separates and bone insists on a new map. The Samadhi fire answers, it doesn't consume him. It fuses him into a steadier, older shape, the teenager version the first film promised. He moves differently. He uses silence as a weapon. He turns timing into a blade, and in that steadiness, he snaps enough of the curse to free Ao Bing. They anchor one another, they turn, they fight. Outside, Ao Guang remembers the humility inside kingship. He calls dragons and the very demons the sect planned to grind into medicine. Together they lever the Dinghai needle, the sea stabilizing pin under the cauldron's lip and heave. Bronze groans, engraved scripture fractures like ice beneath a step. The whole ocean feels like a beast arching its spine inside the furnace. Ne Zha carves arcs of heat with the fire-tipped spear while Bing turns ice into geometry, turning every skid into a springboard. Taiyi's spells steady the pulse of the arena, a drumbeat that says not today to a machine designed to say always. The three dragon kings who thought they could ride Wu Yang's scheme to a tidy purge get their education the hard way. They aren't cut down with dignity. They are peeled away from power, step by and dignified step, until they are just men in elaborate armor who forgot that conscience is not a costume. The Chan sect's rank and file stare at their hands like ink won't wash off. Wu Yang, blooded and furious, watches his bronze theology crack. The cauldron fractures. Then it detonates outward petals of metal blown apart by a city's refusal to be rendered. He lives, of course he does. Villains with policy manuals always do. Wu Yang flees, a smile welded to his face like a mask and an agenda already rewriting itself in the back of his mind. The sect he leaves behind is a husk with a logo. The dragons retreat into deeper trenches, the exile of kings who decided to be shepherds for a while. Aguang leads them not as a conqueror, but as a caretaker. Bing does not go. He stays with the shore, with Ne Zha, with the stubborn work of building a life you can't put into a pill bottle. Chenting Pass begins its customary miracle. Stalls rise where ashes lay. Kids race in alleys that still smell faintly of smoke. A spare pair of chopsticks sits at every table because absence eats too. Li Jing's posture stiffens into a prayer you can carry with your spine. Taiyi jokes louder because quiet invites ghosts. Ne Zha visits the spot where Lady Yin vanished and doesn't say anything. Sometimes silence is what a hero keeps when there's nothing he can give back mid-credits. The story tosses hooks into tomorrow. In an iron-veined prison where lanterns cough soot, Wu Yang visits Shen Gongbao and Shen Jiangdao with an offer. He speaks the snake language of insinuation and usefulness. Somewhere else, summons go out for Jinzi and Muse Wenyi Zha's elder brothers to return to Yusu Palace. They walk a corridor that hums like a plucked string, except the host is missing. The man who called them is gone, folded into his own schemes or taken by someone else's. The board is not clear. It's merely rearranged. Sequel rule: if the hallway is ominous and empty, it's never actually empty. That's the spine. The muzzle on it is character this sequel's secret engine. The body share is a friendship test you can diagram. Ne Zha yields his own body to a friend because it's the best move for both of them. Bing steers and then gives the wheel back. Trust isn't a speech, it's a procedure. Taiyi's comically huge sleep pill is good for a laugh it looks like. You need a forklift to swallow it, but the gag carries weight. Consent is baked into every win they rack up. Roommate rule number 2. Whoever's driving deals with the potholes. Whoever's sleeping buys breakfast. The marmot trial is a micro-argument the movie expands later. Gentle capture is better than the alternative, yes, but it's still capture. Wu Yang keeps praising restraint because it keeps his students from asking the loudest question, why cages at all? When the Tianyuan cauldron drops, the answer arrives in bronze. This system was always about turning living things into inventory. The desert exercise was just the tutorial level where nobody looked too closely at the mission statement. Chen Zhengdao's surrender is the moral hinge. He's not glamorized, he's tired, proud, and not interested in heroic last stands if they'll feed a bloodier appetite. When he breaks his own arm to seal obedience, you feel both the nausea and the worth of the choice. Sometimes keeping your people alive costs you the posture you wanted for yourself. Later, when we see Wu Yang's refinement laid bare, that choice reads like foresight, not failure. Shen Gongbao is a walking complication the movie treats with respect. He's done ugly errands for ugly bosses. He knows where the city's emergency exits are. He petrifies Li Jing and Lady Yin because statues beat funerals. He's captured anyway, he's blamed anyway. And the mid-credits offer is insult. On top of injury, his usefulness pressed into service by the very machine he tried to jam. Every friend group has one logistics goblin who knows 6 ways out of a burning building. Cherish them, they won't ask for credit. They will need snacks, but Qianyu and Cauldron is the thesis-made spectacle. Refinement is efficiency's favorite costume. Wu Yang deploys the language of order to justify consumption. Film paints it with scripture warped by heat, vents that breathe like tired animals, and blue samadhi fire repurposed as fuel. It's grand and gross at the same time. Then Lady Yin dies, and all that grandeur collapses into a quiet so mean you can't soften it. The movie knows when to shut up. It does, and it lets the lost set. Ne Zha's metamorphosis isn't just taller hair and sharper VFX. He changes pace. He listens. He uses silence as punctuation and motion as grammar. Breaking the piercing heart curse reads like sovereignty, choosing what his body is for, what his pain pays for, what he refuses to be turned into. It's the opposite of Wu Yang's doctrine. One says your body is raw material for our ladder. The other says my body is my vow. Jim wisdom meets myth. Time under tension builds something. Here, it builds a hero instead of a pill. Bing's arc peaks not when he swings hardest, but when he chooses where to stand. Dragons in these stories often go back to the ocean. He doesn't. He stays in the messy place, with the messy friend, to do the messy work. His ice isn't just a weapon. It's a way to draw lines on chaos, so Ne Zha's fire has something too. Grip, if Ne Zha is the exclamation point, Bing is the sentence that makes it mean something. I'll be the brakes if you'll be the engine. Tai remains the film's best balancing act. He's comic relief and moral ballast. He's the adult who refuses to manage kids when he can equip them instead. He carries guilt he pushed the lotus heart. Watched Bing's first body fade land, he carries joy too, when the nectar lets him fix what he nearly broke. He chants like a drummer with a prayer in his knuckles. He feeds people and says it's strategy. He's right. Snack math, morale up 20%, spell success rate up 15%. These are peer-reviewed numbers, probably. Wu Yang works because he's the kind of villain who could get elected. He reframes instead of rants, he automates instead of stabs. His horror feels like homework mandatory and written in small print. The movie is kinder to his followers then. He deserves showing how people wake slowly from narratives that promise safety and promotions. When the cauldron shatters, the win isn't the blast. It's the hesitation in the disciples' hands the next morning. Choreography has its own. Grammar here. In fights, The script uses short, sharp sentences kicks, parries, throws to throw your pulse into a sprint. In grief, it leans on long lines Ne Zha walking through the curse, Bing skating a razor's edge of frost along molten bronze. Jokes bubble up without puncturing the stakes, the sleep pellet the size of a bow. A spear that treats walls as optional, Diro and Krana giving uncanny H are onboarding, but with crossbows energy. Stand-up note: if your opponent uses a world ending Cauldron, you're allowed one cathartic I roll mid-fight. Even the quiet graces land. The guardian beast crawling into the trial ground like a messenger who ran out of road. The market kids heckling Ne Zha with affectionate disrespect because joking about your protector is how you confirm he's still yours. Li Jing's spine-straight grief. Al Guan choosing shepherd over king. The city learning to leave an extra. Bull because absence is a guest that keeps showing up. By the time Wu Liang vanishes into the wings and the ocean exhales. The sequel has rewritten the terms of the world. Destiny isn't a chain. It's a conversation order that eats people. Is just hunger in a uniform? The fix isn't a shinier system. It's the stubbornness of alliances people who keep choosing each other when the sky says kneel and the sea says obey. Ne Zha 2 is loud with fire and steel, but its heart is quiet. Choose who you are, then keep choosing them. Ne Zha loses his mother and refuses to let that loss rot into cruelty. Albin gains a body and refuses to spend it on the old script. Together they break a machine built to turn lives into medicine and decide to build a city instead stone. By stone, choice by choice, the movie's last gift is simple and stubborn. You are not what a system can refine from you. You are what you promise, endure, and share. Spear and frost, fire and form, a future held together.